Welcome back to a brand new video of the Targeted Individual Program, Target Individual Experience. So I was trying to do this video on my desktop, and for whatever reason, there was no sound in my mic output. I mean, I can, my sound effects, my intro music, all those things I can hear, except for the mic. The mic is not working, and but shit happens, right? So I have to find other ways in which, because I want to do one video that encompass some of these reports and studies into one. So I'm gonna have to do a few different videos. Okay, so start off with this one, right? And I talk about black people again, how they're very they're cognitive dissonance. They don't want to see the truth. They don't want to stand up and take a stand against racism in a way in which white people would take notice and change their behavior. But you see, I keep saying the white supremacists, they want black people and other people of color to change our behavior in terms of not protesting when they kill us, when they abuse us, when they treat us unfairly, when they discriminate against us. They don't want us to protest. They want us to just take it. So when they get black people and people of color to participate in targeting, right? And I talk about how they don't see the invisible hands that are moving the pieces behind the scenes. They're ignorant when it comes to the technology, particularly silent sound spread spectrum, as well as the microchipping of individuals, right, for experimental purpose and for remote neural monitoring. They don't want to believe you. Okay, they don't want to believe you. The covert drug and the covert psychological harassment, and some of them are taking part in this willfully, knowing what it is that they're doing. All right, go and research the Stasi program called Zoom to see what I'm talking about. Right, and they from within the churches. The churches have been engaging in criminal activities against individuals for a very long time. Like I said, I'm going to call them out because my purpose is to expose everything that they're doing. So for you, Sambos and Sambinas and Negropean Christian, you have a black mayor in office, right? This report came out in actually this has been an ongoing report every single year. Okay, every single year, right? Within from since 20, in probably about 2010, they've been doing this, and it's always shown that black people, particular, are paid less. Black, Asian, Hispanic government workers are paid less than their white colleagues. Okay, now you don't think white people know this? They know this. You don't think Asian, Hispanic, black people know this? They know this, but they're not saying nothing. We are conditioned. See, when you engage in psychological manipulation, covert psychological warfare, you fail to realize that they're doing the same thing to you. It's a reason why you won't speak up. It's a reason why that you know that you're being paid less, okay, and you say nothing because they have you afraid. They have you scared that you might lose your job if you speak up. So, like I said, when I go outside and you see these Sambos and Sambinas, these coons, these Negropeans engage in this sort of behavior towards me as a black person, when I look at it, like I said, I understand what's being done, but I'm one person, and you see what I deal with every single day. And at times it gets frustrating. That's what they want, but it doesn't frustrate me enough to where, you know, I can't go to sleep at night. If only if I'm suffering from insomnia. But in terms of me worrying about these people, I'm not. Okay, my job is just to expose it. And when I say worry about them, I mean in terms of what it is that they're doing, and to have it, and so that they can manipulate me like how they once did when I didn't know what was going on. Okay, because I see the manipulation. I see that all day. I see what they try to do. Okay, but like I said, I'm here to give you the truth, right? And you're here to wake your asses up from your sleep and slumber. Okay, so New York City government pays women of color less than male workers. Now, this is just women, right? But it's also men too. All right. So, people of color who work in New York City government make 16 cents less on average for every $1 their white counterpart make. And the gap is even wider for women of color, according to a new report from the city council. So you see the Sambinas, they're a big part of and I'm going to talk about this too, about how the school, particularly in the school system, white male teachers, white female teachers, black female teachers, how they discriminate against black boys, right? Black women are a big part of uh, disciplining young black boys more harsher than white young white boys in the public school. Now, what does that say? They have turned black women against black men, including their sons, including our sons as black people. Okay, again, I'm not saying this just to say it. Okay, I'm going to show you the research, the studies that shows exactly what I just said. All right. So for all you city employees, you bus drivers who've been targeting me and others, right? Why don't you go target the racist white people, right? Who are paying you less? Why don't you go target them, right? But no, because you're dissatisfied, you got to find they understand how you feel because they condition you to be a certain way. So you take out your anger, your frustration on us. Again, this is what they do. We are as TIs are the distraction. They distract you so that you won't focus on them, so you won't see the truth. You won't speak out against the truth. The very same thing that you are doing to me and others as TIs, they're doing it to you. Maybe not to the extent, right? Particularly with the being microchip, but in terms of conditioning you to be silent, to not say anything, they're doing it to you too. All right. So the report found that city employees who are Asian, Black, Latino, or otherwise non-white earn an average of 84 cents for every $1 that white city employees earn. Now, I was doing this in their, the New York City Department, Police, Predator Department, out there using their sirens, right? Because they hate it when I show the facts, the truth, because they're liars. They're about lying, manipulation, right? And so they have to hide the truth because again, they want people to believe the lie, and people are believing their lies. But like I said, I'm here to expose it. All right. So uh, it also finds significant disparities related to gender. For every $1 that white male city workers make, all other city workers make just 82 cents on average. These findings demonstrate a long-standing trend of women and non-white employees being undervalued and underpaid, said Councilmember Carmen de la Rosa, who chairs the council's Women Caucus during the hearing on the issue on Thursday. Women of color account for more than two-thirds of the overall racial peer gap among municipal employees, with men of color accounting for about one-third, according to the report, which covers wage data up to 2021. From fiscal year 2018 to fiscal year 2021, women of color recorded the smallest improvement in their wage gap, with white male workers notching an increase of 3.8% or less. In contrast, white female employees, black and African American male employees, and male employees who identify as other ethnicities saw the largest reduction of their pay gap over this period. So while they're raising the wages of your white male counterparts, they're lowering your wages, right? But no, it doesn't matter. It doesn't matter. They say we got the TIs, we got Niger. We're gonna target the shit out of him. We don't care if they keep lowering in our wage, because you know what? They got us to participate in their crime against this individual and others. And so now we can't say nothing, right? Because we got our hands dirty. They made us put our hands in the criminal drawer to attack TIs, targeted individuals. And so now they can do this to you, because now, guess what? They know that they can control you and turn you against whoever they want. So while you're being distracted, they're lowering your wage, but they're raising their wages. White men. Okay? And I'm sure white females make more than black male city employees. Okay? Because they're not too far behind their men. All right? So again, like I said, they distract you while they're stealing your money in your pockets. Okay? This is what they do. Again, when I say this, people say, "Oh, you hating." I'm not hating. I just speak the truth. See, the people that are hating you and I, okay, you don't turn to them and say that they're hating, even though they're showing you they hate you. They are showing you they hate you. And I'm showing you that I love you by telling you the truth. Despite of what you may put me through, despite of what you're doing, I love you enough to tell you the truth, to try to wake you up. Because history has shown, when you have an oppressive regime, when you have people who have racist ideology, okay, what's going to happen within that society. And what they're doing is creating mental illness within the society. You think when you attack me, you think I'm not studying what you're doing and I'm turning it back on you? And you think you're engaging in this, that it doesn't affect your mental health? Like I said, you got to go do some research. Anyway, let's move on to the next the next story. Okay, so let's move on to the next story, in which the Negropeans, the Sambos and Sambinas, will ignore, will not get angry about, will not get upset, will not get mad, but they will attack me for being a TI based off of the lies, based off of the manipulation, based off of the non-consensual human experimentation, based on the New York Predator Department and its predatory officers engaging in covert warfare, covert psychological warfare against black men and black women in order to manipulate, separate, divide, and conquer, and also to destroy our children. And using the church with the Negropean Sambos and Negropean Christian Sambos and Sambinas in the churches, right? Ignoring the reality. But every Sunday they're up in church kikiing up, praying that God is going to change things for them, right? Not understanding that their God of the Bible is not a real God. Okay, it is a white supremacist religion. But they love white Jesus so much that they're willing to make their children suffer even more so than they're suffering. And they may not think that they're suffering, because, particularly these pastors living fancy and lavishly. But the people that are struggling, that are giving these pastors their money, but they suffer for Jesus. They always talk about this bullshit about, well, Jesus, he was whipped and all of this and carried his cross. So, this is my cross to bear. You're a dumbass. You are and I'm not sorry for saying that, but you are a dumbass. Okay? And you're the New York Predator Department out there. Yeah. Right? If you are willing to throw your children under the bus, if you are willing to ignore your children's education, if you are willing to because you don't want your children to have knowledge and to gain knowledge because it's going to turn them away from Jesus, then you're a dumbass. Okay? Because by the year 2050, black people in this country will have zero wealth. Is that what you want for your children? When you die, when you move, when you go back to wherever the hell you think you're going, right? When you die, right? But you're not concerned about your children. You're not concerned about their children. What about their future children? And I keep saying they're going to put black people back into slavery. Okay. So anyhow, so in today's next news story about the Negropean who ignored the Negropean Sambos and Sambinas, yes, and I'm not, um, I'm not sorry for saying that, right? But sometimes you got to be harsh because particularly my people, black people, they're ignorant and they're allowing this to go on, and they're not angry. And I keep saying, though I understand, you know, this is our children here. They may not be my children personally, but they are our kids, or they're my kids too. Okay? And we should be angry that this is happening. Right? But no one wants to listen to the TI. We're crazy. We're paranoid, we're this and that. Okay. All right. Well, hey, I guess you're paranoid too, and you're crazy too, because you're allowing this to happen. All right? So, in Illinois, and this is Chicago, right? It happened in Ferguson. It happened here in New York. Okay? New York, Police department, New York Predator Department shut out within the past 10 years. Shell out how many hundreds of millions of dollars? Based on the practices of predatory police departments and their predator officers. But y'all want to ignore this shit. Right? I keep saying, we as TIs, we are the distraction. Right? What is being done to the perps that are attacking us, they're being experimented on also. But they don't see it. They don't see it as that. Because they put God in it, right? You doing God's will. You're God warriors. I mean, people really have to study and get some education in terms of how their religion was created, right? And it's documented. It is documented. Anyhow, let me just begin here. So, an Illinois school district reliance on police to ticket students is discriminatory, civil rights complaint says. Two civil rights groups are asking the U.S. Department of Education to force Rockford Public School, the third largest district in Illinois, to stop discriminatory discipline involving police. So you are allowing them to steal from your children and steal from you as a parent. Okay? And they know what they're doing. They know what they are doing. White people, like I said, white people will always, they have never given up on the idea of enslaving black people. We are bodies that they can use to profit off of, to manipulate, to traumatize, right? To engage in, and particularly in Chicago, to engage in trauma-based conditioning of young children. This is why you see in Chicago, these police officers, when they do go on these late night raids, early morning raids, they are only raiding the houses of who? Single black women, majority, with young children. So they know what they do. They know that there's no males in the house, and they know they want to traumatize these young kids. And so what happened when you traumatize particularly these young male children? Right? What they're doing is, again, instilling fear in the hearts and minds of young black males at a very early age. And what are black people doing in Chicago? Nothing. Nothing. Okay? So, let me read this again. So two national civil rights groups accused Illinois' third largest school district on Tuesday of relying on police to handle school discipline, unlawfully targeting black students with tickets, arrests, and discipline. They are ruining the lives of young black children. And it's getting worse, like I said. It is getting worse, and it's going to get even worse, because we as black people, we refuse to wake up. We refuse to see the truth. We're in the damn churches. We're so traumatized that the church has become a place in which we cling to For what? For what? So that we don't have to deal with the issues, right? No matter how many times you pray to your God and your God is telling you that your God is showing you, right? Because again, if you read your Bible, God don't speak to you, so He's showing you. He don't give a damn. All right, you have to give a damn. You have to uh, uh, access the God within you, the netta within you, the netta ruse, right, within you. You have to become your Savior. You have to become your Christ. All right. In a 25-page complaint against Rockford Public School filed with the U.S. Department of Education's Office for Civil Rights, the National Center of Youth Law and the MacArthur Justice Center said the Rockford police officers have been addressing minor behaviors that should be handled as an educational matter by parents, teachers, and school leaders, and not as a law enforcement matter by police officers. The complaint adds black students bear the brunt of this harm. The groups, which shared a copy of the complaint with ProPublica, asked the Education Department to find that the district violated federal laws prohibiting discrimination and to order it to change its discipline practices and reliance on police. Using data obtained from the Rockford District and the Rockford Police Department, the group argued that the district partners with police funnel black students, but not their white peers, into the justice system. But we know this. We know this. So this is not new. We know this. This keeps happening over and over again. Why? Because they conditioned us as black people to be silent. Right? But they'll tell a black person, oh, look, he's the devil. Let's, attack him. Let's, whatever. And they'll do that. But they want to attack the devils that are in high places. They want to attack the devils on the police force that are indiscriminately killing black people and black children. Right? So, into the justice system, even for the same infractions. So look, so but it says right, the district partnership with police funnels black students, but not their white peers, into the justice system, even for the same infraction at school. Okay? The spokesperson for Rockford School declined to answer questions from ProPublica, saying the district had not been told by the Office of Civil Rights that the complaint have been filed and that it will respond accordingly if an investigation is open. And again, you have black people working in these schools. See, this is why in Chicago they had to get rid of that. I forgot the brother, the brilliant principal Muslim guy, from the Nation of Islam. See, and he was fighting for our kids, whether they're Christian, whether they're Muslim, whether they're non-believers, what have you. But he cared enough about our kids, right? And was turning things around, great educator. And what did these Negropean Sambo Christians do? Conspire to get him out of that school as principal. They used students, female students, to lie and say that he sexually assaulted. Again, these are the extent these people will do for their belief system. Meanwhile, they're ignoring the fact that their children, our children, are being fed into this system, which is criminalizing young black men. They've been doing this to us for decades. Okay? But the Negropeans, yes, the Negropeans, the Sambos and the Sambinas, they got God on their mind and Jesus on their mind so much that they're ignoring the reality. Okay? So, the two national groups have won civil rights claim in school district previously that also prompt change to the criminal justice system, such as solitary confinement in prison. The group began to investigate school ticketing in Rockford after a 2022 investigation by ProPublica and the Chicago Tribune into the practice of Illinois that includes a database of thousands of students ticketed across the state. So it's not just in that school district. Again, stealing money from young black people, students, and from their parents. And the tickets can go as high as $750, which is ridiculous. Right? Anyway, so I don't want to start cursing, so let me just move. Let me just move ahead and to the next. All right, so this is not new, but I want to show you guys that again, this is not new. This happened all across America. Okay, and then you have these Negropeans on Facebook talking about, oh yeah, love your neighbor, love your enemies, love the people that hate you, love this and that. This only black people say that shit. Only I shouldn't say black people, but the Negropeans say that shit. The Christianized Negropeans, right? The fanatical religious Negropeans who will ignore the reality, right? So if you guys remember, I don't know if you guys saw this, but back in 2015, yeah, the Justice Department was investigating Ferguson, the police department, and the courts. And what they find was that the police department and the courts were targeting African Americans disproportionately. And the reason why, it is again to steal from the poor to give to the rich. And they use the police departments and they use the courts to do it. Right? So Ferguson, Missouri, where you have that town which predominantly you had a large black population of Ferguson, but on the outskirts you have the suburbs, which is predominantly white. And the majority of the people on the police force and also work within the municipalities are white. Okay, so you had clerks, court clerks, who were making close to $200,000 a year. And so, how were they funding their middle class and upper middle class lifestyle? Off of the backs of black people, black Americans. Okay, right? And so, and this will happen when that officer killed Michael Brown, the teenager. Right. So again, black people will remain silent. And again, I want black people to understand that you need to understand what is being done to you. Okay? You need to start doing research on directed energy weapons, particularly silent sound spectrum, radio or microwave frequency that is meant to subdue your emotions, that is meant to change your mind, to give you a more docile mind. Okay? To remove your emotion, your love for your children and for each other. This is how they're doing it. Okay? So I want you to listen to this, right? So it says here, let me scroll down. This is important. During a 6-month investigation, federal investigators compiled, this is just 6 months now, federal investigators compiled stark statistic that reveal a pattern of racial bias. That's Ferguson population is your third white. Black people account for 85% of traffic stops, 90% of tickets, and 93% of arrests. In cases of minor offense where arrests are up to the officer's discretion, but these white racist officers, anything that they to do to give you a record to put you into that criminal system, so that guess what? Because it's big business. Yeah, my upstate neighbor, making noise. So as I was gathering the information to do this on my desktop, they were moving their chairs back and forth. Okay, that's what they were doing. They were moving their chair back and forth. Okay. Yeah. Anyhow, but yeah. Okay, so it says like disturbing the peace and jaywalking. 95% of those arrested were African Americans. The police culture is rooted in a presumption of guilt that continues to put. It's not rooted in the presumption of guilt. What it is rooted in criminalizing black people. Again, put them into a system so that they can steal money from them and incarcerate them. Okay, and using again the authority as police officers and the courts to engage in predatory behavior. That's why I call them predators, because again, they are predators of black people. Okay, predatory behavior, and this happens all across America. Okay, black people, you need to go learn the psychological definition of learned helplessness, self-helplessness. Okay, when they condition you, your subconscious, all right. So you may walk around, yeah, I'm driving a nice car, whatever. Well, I'm living good. No, you still have a defeated mindset. Look, I have a defeated mindset at times, but I get up and I fight every single day to the best that I can, given whatever within my limits. Okay. That's why I do these videos day in and day out. They may threaten me, they do whatever, whatever. Like I said, hey, come. You know where I live. I want to meet you. I'm sure a whole lot, bunch of people want to meet you too. Okay, so let's go. Anyhow, all right. So officers expect and demand compliance even when they lack legal authority. All right. They were inclined to interpret the exercise of free speech as unlawful disobedience. But you guys know all of this stuff, right? And listen to this: innocent movement as physical threats, indication of mental or physical illness, as belligerent. Investigators found that Ferguson police used force almost exclusively against African Americans. Every person bitten by a dog in Ferguson was black. Okay? Yeah. Wake up. Okay. So again, let's go on to the next um, news report about another journalistic investigation of how police, even here in New York, because we think if we live in a big city that these police don't engage in this sort of predatory behavior, right? So this is back in 2020, December 14th, right? Where you have the NY Predator Department will falsely arrest black and brown people for overtime, right? For overtime cash. This is what, again, like I said, I'm not making this up. Okay, I don't got to go and get some, you know, person to lie and to try to say that this cop did this or that cop did this or that. I don't need to do that. They have to do that because that's their mindset. They're liars. They're manipulators. They're the dark triads. They're the narcissists. They're the pedophiles. They're the sexual abusers. They're all on the police force. Okay. And the majority of them are white males and black male sambos. Okay. Again, I always say this: there are good cops out there, but there's not a lot of good cops to put the bad cops in check. So the bad cops are the ones that are running the show and have been running the show. Okay? So, according to ProPublica, New York Predator Department police who police the sex trade have been falsely arresting black and brown people to make more money from overtime. And what do I say? White people will always use black bodies for what? Profit. Whether it be selling us during slavery, right? Then Jim Crow using the police and the prison system, right, to re-enslave black people, right? And here up in the north, where you have the police departments here, again using the municipalities and the police department to rob black people of their money, of their wealth, so they can never accumulate wealth or save money. I mean, people don't understand how pervasive this is. Okay. So all right. So they've been the New York Police Department have been falsely arresting black and brown people to make more money from overtime, proven the New York Police Department real motive is to make arrests for cash. How should you feel about this news? You should feel like the police should be disarmed, defunded, and abolished. Okay, I don't know why. Let me see here. Let me go back to. Let's get to the original story in ProPublica because this is not letting me read the whole thing. Let's see here. Okay. Let's go here, and I'm gonna type in. Let's see. Comes up. Let's see. There we go. All right. All right. So let me just reread this. Right. So this is the original story here, and it says New York Predator files. New York Predator cops cash in on sex trade arrests with little evidence, while black and brown New Yorkers pay the price. So some New York Predator officers who police the sex trade driven by overtime pay go undercover to round up as many bodies as they can with little evidence. Almost no one they arrest is white. Right? So again, you Sambos who conspiring with these white racists on the police department to do this to me, you're a bunch of idiots, and I keep telling you, you're a bunch of fools. All right? And I keep saying that. Right? Do I understand why you're a bunch of fools? Because you're being manipulated. Okay? And what you have also, you have these black Sambos on the police department who are engaging in the same thing. There's the story about that cop in the Bronx who, black police officer now, black predator officer, who was threatening these mothers, these single mothers who were raising young teenage boys, threatening to arrest their children if they didn't sleep with him. Okay, this is what's going on. So I'm not just talking about these white racists, but I'm talking about the ones in black faces too, the ones that are Hispanics, the ones that are Asians, right, or whatever other ethnicity, right? Because of their training, and also because subconsciously they have an affirmation and love for whiteness, and they see their very own, particularly black people in particular, they see black people as threats and to be criminalized. Okay, so listen, almost no one there arrests is white now. Okay, now you know there's a lot of white men out there, you know, trying to get some of these prostitutes. Okay. So one summer night in 2015, a community college student was driving home through East New York in Brooklyn when two women on the street corner waved at him to stop. He thought they might need help, so he pulled over and cracked his window. But the pair had something else in mind. "Do you want to have some fun?" he recalled one of them saying. "Whoa, no thank you," he responded and drove off, laughing to himself. It was something like he'd seen only on TV. The 21-year-old, who was black, made it a few blocks before police yanked him out of the car and began to search him. Terrified and unsure of what was happening, he insists they had the wrong guy. Officers yelled at him, "Shut the F up." The women were, as I said, they shut the F up there, you know, using the car. Because they want me to shut up. I'm not going to shut up, okay? Do whatever you got. Like I said, do what you got to do. Just do it. Right? You like to use that slogan, that Nike slogan, right? Just do it. The women were undercover police officers. He was under arrest for patronizing a prostitute. Do you see what I'm talking about? The lies. Okay? They know what they're doing. And there's no reprimand for these officers. There's no firing of these officers. They get put back on they get to go back on the street and do the same thing to innocent black people. Right? And Hispanic people. Okay? He said the police put him in a van where he sat handcuffed for hours as it filled with other black and brown men. It was one of New York City Police Department's biggest things since Mayor Bill de Blasio took office in 2014. The direct outcome of a strategy he and top cops have trotted in recent years to combat human trafficking. But that's not how you combat human trafficking. You go after the Johns. Right? I'm sorry, not the Johns, but you go after the pimps. That's what you go after. You go after the pimps, right? Find out where they're getting these girls from, who's sending them to these pimps. But again, they use these things as a cover, and what they do, they criminalize, right? The people who have no connection with human trafficking. Okay, and the people who have the connection with human trafficking, they leave them alone. Because again, they want more arrests. And how do they get more arrests? By arresting the John, the people who comes to solicit sexual favors from these women. Okay, so like I said, they're not about solving the issue. What they're about is making as much arrests as they can. Okay, so they can do what? Make more money. All right. So it says officers should arrest exactly the true criminals like Johns and pimps, while making sure people forced into prostitution get the help that they need to get out. On the ground, the reality has been different from the rhetoric. Teams of New York Predator officers have descended on minority neighborhoods as if they don't have prostitutions in the suburbs in Long Island. All right, some parts of Queens. Okay, where else? Manhattan. Come on now. Uh, all right, teams of New York Police Department have officers have descended on minority neighborhoods, leaning into cars, windows, and knocking on apartment doors, trying to get men and women to say the magic words, agreeing to exchange sex for money. These arrests are based almost entirely on the word of cops, who say they are incentivized to round up as many bodies as they can. Some of their targets were selling sex to survive, others were minding their own business. Although almost everyone arrested for these crimes in the last 4 years is non white. Now, you tell me, black people, you tell me, Negropeans, when you're all about this love bullshit, but love your neighbors. And like I said, black people were the only ones say shit like that. But every other group, what do? They don't say that shit. But you can always tell people who have been severely traumatized because they suffer from Stockholm syndrome. Okay? And they love to use Job in the Bible. What Satan made a bet with, what kind of God you serving? That made a bet with the devil, right? To where the devil kills, where Satan killed his family, destroy his crops, his home, everything like that, and because he didn't turn away from God, that God replenished. I mean, what kind of nonsense is that? You guys really believe that nonsense? That was put into that book to keep you passive and docile. So when the state abuse you, right? The state abuse you, that you will cling on to that God because you read Job and you think that you're going to be what? That God's going to replenish what you lost when you had nothing to begin with? What did you have to begin with? The vast majority of black people in this country are not doing well financially. And like I said, by the year 2050, black people have zero wealth in this country. Okay, so you keep preaching about Job and how you know steadfast he is in believing in God and trusting God, what have you. That's abusive. That is abusive, and this is why black people deal with abuse from other groups of people, particularly white people. Okay, so everyone arrested for these crimes in the last 4 years is non-white. A ProPublica data analyst shows 89% of the 1,800 charged with prostitution, 93% of the 3,000 accused of trying to buy sex. Okay? Of the dozens of cops, lawyers, and other experts ProPublica interviewed for this story, not a single one believed arrest figures for patronizing a prostitute accurately reflect the racial makeup of those who buy sex in New York City. Of course not. Because in Manhattan, they got a lot of these white women out there prostituting themselves. Okay? I know for a fact that white men are the key, and there you go. See, white men are the key demographics. They're the ones who engage in soliciting prostitution the most out of any other racial group. So, we shall overcome. We shall. I'm taking a page out of my boy's book from pro black pro black media. I mean, come on now. Come on now. You think I'm afraid that they might execute me or assassinate me? They don't want me to speak the truth. I have kids. I love my kids. But we have to take a stand if we are going to make changes, and we have to become consciously aware. And the first thing we need to do is get rid of the damn Bible. Go and learn about African spiritual system as a black person. If you are a white person or what have you, right? Go and learn about how the Catholic Church spent 1,000 years keeping your ancestors in Europe in darkness, murdering, torturing men and women to indoctrinate Europeans with this religion. Anyhow, so I know for a fact that white men are the key demographic, said Meredith Dank, a researcher professor at John Jay College of Criminal Justice, who, along with her colleague, has interviewed more than 600 young people who trade sex in the city. In one study, 65% said that their main clients are white. So again, when I call them the predator department and their predator officers, I'm not wrong. Right? So as TIs, let's talk about or going through a lot of your history. They fabricated. They fabricated. They have they snitches, they perps, they honey traps. They're being paid to set you up. And if they consider you a threat as a black person, right? COINTELPRO, the FBI document saying what? That they infiltrate the black community and destroy young leaders. Right? They're looking for a so-called messiah, but they understand that each and every one of us, including if you're white, Hispanic, what have you, that once you start to awaken to the reality and to the truth, and you start to do your research, you start to learn the truth, they're afraid of you becoming a Christ. And a Christ means an anointed, meaning that you reached your Godhead, your God stage, your enlightenment. You see the truth. You have knowledge. All right? So you got to research. You got to study. Learn the truth. All right, let's move on to the next. Okay, so I was going to do another reading of an article, but I think once I get the situation fixed with my computer, I'm going to do the video that I want to do, which will include the previous articles that I've read here, where I'll go into more detail. So you guys look out for that one. But before I finish this video, I want to talk to my Nigerian brothers and sisters, the Sambos and the Sambinas, and understand that COINTELPRO is still alive today. Okay, but it has morphed into part of the targeted individual programs. Right? I mean, we know they target white people too. We know they target Asians. They know they target some Hispanics. We know they target Asians also. Right? When you look at the demographic, who are they targeting the most? It's us. See, other people in other groups will going to get targeted, so that we can't say, for those of us who are black and TI, so we can't say that it's discrimination. Or Asians who are being targeted, say we can't say, or any non-white group who can say that it's not about discrimination. But it is. It is. Okay. For me, it is. All right. Again, COINTELPRO, long-range goals and prevention of a black messiah. Counterintelligence program, black nationalists, and they put hate groups. Right? There's no see what again. But you got to understand the mindset of white people. They will hate you. They will brutalize your people. They will murder. They will rob your people, as I've shown you of what it is that they do within using the police and using the court systems, right? Using the educational system to rob black people of their hard-earned money. And that's hate. That is no doubt hate. Right? But you Sambos and you Sambinas, you Nigerians don't want to see this hate. Right? You rather bow your head and to go along just to get along. Meanwhile, the very same people that you are working with, sitting right next to you, know that you're not being paid fairly. And they are not doing anything. They're not saying anything. Now, not all of them, but the vast majority of them are not saying anything. Because you know why? They don't think you deserve to be paid the same as them. Okay? So they don't have to tell you, I hate you, N-word. When they look at their paycheck and you look at your paycheck, they're showing you that they hate you. Okay? So, what are the goals for maximum effectiveness of the counterintelligence program and to prevent wasted effort? Long range goals are being set. Prevent the coalition of militant black nationalist groups. In unity, there is strength. In truism, that is no less valid for all its treatedness. An effective coalition of black nationalist group might be the first step towards real Mau Mau, Black Revolutionary Army in America, the beginning of a true black revolution. Now, I want you to understand, right, that America has white nationalists, okay, who spread hate, who go around killing black people, okay, but black people cannot even have a like the Black Panthers to defend the rights of black people, to defend black people from the oppression, from the brutality of white people and white racists on the police force. But they can have their white militant, their white racist militant, their white KKK militant, because what do we see within the past 2 decades? What do we see? We see the U.S. military using private armies that are white, majority white men. Like, for example, Blackwater was turned into Z, what's his name, Eric Prince. And there are others. So I want you to understand that, yeah, white people can have a militant private army. But you as a black person, you and black people, we can't. Okay? And again, not because we hate white people, but to defend ourselves and each other from the oppression and the racist attacks, the brutality, the murder of black people at the hands of the white racists. Okay? 2. Prevent the rise of a messiah who could unify and electrify the militant black nationalist movement. Malcolm X might have been such a messiah. He is a martyr of the movement today. Martin Luther King, Stokely Carmichael, and Elijah Muhammad all aspire to be to this position. Elijah Muhammad is less of a threat because of his age. Now, when I read that, I realized what they were doing, particularly to young black people, particularly to young black men and women who love black people, who want to build, things, businesses, what have you, to employ black people. They don't want that. So what do? They attack us when we're young. They know that if they find a black person, man or woman, that dreams of building a business to employ black people because they love black people, they want to change things around for black people, they will be a target and they will be manipulated. And these individuals would not even know what was done to them because it's done in the shadows, covertly. People around them are going to be paid to set them up. They're going to send honey traps to give them STDs. All right? They're going to program their mind in such a way that is detrimental to them and each other. Like I said, we really don't quite, for the vast majority of black people in America, really do not have a realistic idea of what white people are capable of. Even though we know through slavery and through Jim Crow, right? Even though we see, white men, white teenage boys and girls plotting, have killed, mass murdered, not only black people, but their own people too, based off of their ideology. Okay? So, King could be a real contender for this position should he abandon his supposed obedience to white liberal doctrine. But we know what happened to Martin Luther King, right? Once he realized that these white liberals are just the same, just as bad as the white conservative, they had to kill him. Okay? Carmichael has the necessary charisma to be a real threat in this way. And also, notice they haven't even mentioned uh, um, Fred Hampton, okay, who we know the Chicago police and the FBI assassinated him at a very young age. All right. Three, prevent violence on the part of black nationalist groups. This is of primary importance and is, of course, a goal of our investigative activities. It should also be a goal of the counterintelligence program to pinpoint potential troublemakers and neutralize them before they exercise their potential for violence. Okay? Four, prevent military black nationalist groups and leaders from gaining respectability, right? By discrediting them to three separate segments of the community. The goal of discrediting black nationalists must be handled tactically in three ways. You must discredit those groups and individuals to first the responsible Negro community. See, the responsible Negro community, they're not responsible at all. These are the Sambos and the Sambinas who want to be up in white spaces, you know, want to talk about, I've been to the Mayor's Ball and I've been to such and such, and these people hate the hell out of you, and they show you in other ways. See, the racist liberals, they're not as blatantly racist and bigoted as the conservative racists, the Republican racists, who are yelling in your face N word and this and that. See, they do it very tactically. They do it by paying you less. They do it by poisoning your environment, right? They do it by what? Ignoring, uh, um, when you have a pandemic, right? Ignoring you, not giving you enough uh, uh, resources in your community for health, right? Education. New York City is the most educated school system in the country, and we are a liberal state. See, they show you other ways that they hate you, but you just don't want to see the truth. Okay. All right. So, second, they must be discredited to the white community, both the responsible community and to liberals who have vestige of sympathy for militant black nationalists simply because they are Negroes. Third, these groups must be discredited in the eyes of Negro radicals. So even within certain groups or individuals, they will send infiltrators into what they call Negro radicals to discriminate anybody who might want to join them. Okay? This last area requires entirely different tactics from the first two. Publicly about violent tendencies and radical statements merely enhance black nationalists to the last group. It adds respectability in a different way. 5. A final goal should be to prevent the long range growth of militant black organization, especially among youths. This is why they attack us when we are younger. Okay? They attack us while we're younger, and they will attack you for decades and decades and decades until you reach an age where you are no longer going to be effective. Okay? So it says, again, the final goal should be to prevent the long-range growth of militant black organization, especially among youth. Specific tactics to prevent these groups from converting young people must be developed. Targets. Primary targets of the counterintelligence program, black nationalist, who they say hate group, okay, should be the most violent and radical groups and their leaders. We should emphasize those leaders and organizations that are nationwide in scope and are capable of disrupting this country. These target members and followers are, and they talk about certain organizations, the Nation of Islam, look, even the Martin Luther King Church, right? Rap H. Brown, Rap H. Brown. If you go and you go and you listen to the video with Dr. Peter Bragg, and he talks about Dr. Rap H. Brown being lobotomized. are being operated on to make him more docile. Okay? So I just want you guys to understand and to open your eyes to see what's going on. And you must understand that there are people within our communities who are working with the police to set up your children as well as you or what have you, depending on whether if you're pro-black, they're definitely going to attack you. You're definitely going to send people your way to manipulate you and set you up. All right. So I know this is not my regular TI video, but I needed to do this because I know the Sambos and Sambinas, they watch my videos. Okay, and also to give other TIs an idea of the scope that, like I said, I'm not diminishing your targeting. Okay, I'm not diminishing it. So please don't, because I know how we can get. But I'm just saying that this happens to even the black people who are targeting you as TIs because they don't know any better. They don't know a history. They've been conditioned with short-term memory. And again, we know that there are weapons like silent sound, spread spectrum that are being used to target us. Okay? All right? Before I go, let me do this. So I can show you guys again. All right. Well, like I said, I gotta show you guys. Okay, so let's look at some of the things here. Yes, the New York Predator Department using their sirens because again, they don't want to admit that they've been using these weapons. Okay, and that they had access to these weapons for decades. Okay. So we're talking about here, right? The program begins with the presenter noting that apparently a program for impending methods of psychological influence was submitted to then Prime Minister, the Russian guy, what have you. Again, in 1987, there were plans to use psychological influence for military and economic purposes. Right? The program goes on to deal with the method of influencing people's physical and mental conditioning and exerting influence on their decision. An unidentified man comment on the work, which was consistent of 20 people, was set up. There were such and such. Okay, but I want to go to this. Where's it? This part right here. Let's see here. Again, I'm talking about them using radio wave and microwave frequency. Okay, this document, you can go download this document. All right. And it talks about here, it says, look at this part. Until the world stage reach some agreement, until an international legislation banning psychological and physical steering of intellect and influencing people, a memorandum on this groundwork is needed, he says. Instead of nuclear weapons, we will get a new form of weapons, a more frightening one which has a frightening name. It is called ecologically pure weapons. All right. Kenyuk then says that influencing the human brain and subsequently genetics could be extremely dangerous. He then recalled cases of using drugs for political motive. So as TIs, when we talk about the use of, I talk about the use of drugs to covert drugging. That's an intricate part of this program. Okay, and I want you to understand that not only was the Russians doing it, but in the United States we're doing it too. We know about, like I said, Fred Hampton, they drugged him. Okay. And we know about the police departments across America. They're black sites where they'll bring suspects, they'll drug them and torture them. Okay, here's the part I really want to hit home with, right? Extract. It would be tempting to turn psychological weapons against one's own people and make millions of them forget about discontent with the system of societal inequalities, about the struggle for peace, and about their civil rights. Oppressed but joyful, fleeced by monopolies but content with everything. Wouldn't this be the ideal citizens from the point of view of the ruling circles in countries of the West? This is what the Russian media has been saying. This is what they wrote. But then they said also that, we have now come to understand that we ourselves have been victims of these weapons, these psychological weapons, right? And they talk about what they called biogenerators, right? Which transmit radio frequency, right? They talk about they had developed a long range weapon that can put you to sleep instantaneously. Okay, like I'm saying, and again, if you don't think the United States have been working on this, and we know because we know about Dr. Jose Delgado, and what was he doing in the 1970s? Using radio wave frequency and microchips to control the behavior of animals. Right? They've done a whole bunch of research on how to manipulate the brain, not just through psychology, but through the use of the electromagnetic spectrum. Right? I talk about silent sound a lot. They're able to put commands and instructions and program you, whether you're awake or subconsciously when you're sleeping, to program your mind, to give you a new consciousness. Whatever consciousness they want to give you, that's what they're going to give you. Okay? That's why I say, that's why since I've been studying these things, every morning I wake up, I make a conscious decision to do certain things and to not do certain things, because I know what it is that they've done to me, and I know what it is that they continue to do. Okay? So with that being said, I'll talk to you guys in the next video.